I'm excited today to have as my guest Marc Hayford. Marc is an Amazon three-time best-selling self-help author. His books Get Up, 365 Days of Encouraging You to Attack Life, and most recently, Light Up the Darkness, have hit number one on Amazon's self-help category, as well as neuro-linguistic programming and sports psychology. Marc is a former radio personality for his Philadelphia-based radio talk show called the Get Up Power Hour, and he's a podcaster for his new Get Up podcast, which can be heard on all major platforms that you can get podcasts on. Marc is a former professional wrestling referee for the WWE, a DJ with over 20 years of experience, a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces, and a head football coach in middle school. Marc, welcome to the Go for Launch podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, man. I'm excited about this.
Definitely. Well, this is going to be a different kind of show because you're like the second person over hundreds of shows that I met in an unusual circumstance. So I want to start there. You and I met actually in this new app that really has taken off in 2021 called Clubhouse. All right. So we were in a room together or whatever, and we kind of struck up a conversation, which is kind of how things happen in Clubhouse. And you said, love to be on the podcast. And I'm like, let's do it. So here we are a couple weeks later.
Let's do it. When you said we met, out of all the people in an unusual way, I thought you were going to bring up, prison, but no.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We probably have been in prison at different times. We didn't meet there. No, just kidding. But, hey, by the way, thanks for your service, man. Which branch of the military were you in?
Thank you so much, man. I was in the Air Force, and a lot of my military buddies, they like to, we all kind of bust each other's stones a little bit, and they say it's the chair force, but whatever, man.
Yeah.
Same soil, right?
No, there's some badass Air Force vets as well, man, and active duty. So thanks for everything you did, man, for the country. Also usually start off by asking the question, where are you in the world today?
Home. I'm quarantined. No, I am. I'm coming to you from the great state of Pennsylvania, where Mother Nature's a little bipolar. We had some snow and maybe it's spring, but we're not sure what's happening. So I don't know if I pull out the shovel or the lawnmower, but it's all good, man. We roll with it. That's what we do in 20.
Man. Yeah. So you're in Philadelphia, right?
Well, about 45
Close.
minutes side. Okay. Yeah. But on that side of the state of Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, from the bio, people can tell from your bio, you've got a very interesting and varied background. We'll get into that. But so you and I again met during the pandemic on Clubhouse. Tell us, Marc, how you got involved in Clubhouse.
Well, it was funny because I'm all over social media, all over the place. And I think it's important if you have a brand and if you're looking to connect. And nowadays, listen, I think we should become wise to the fact that social media is so important for the right reasons. We know what all the wrong reasons are. I think we need to lean into what the right reasons are. And that's building networks. That's building communities. The world's just gotten smaller, and we can take advantage of that, or we can just ignore it. And, listen, there's people that will absolutely purposely fight technology. And it's funny, I just saw this thing on Gary Vee where he talked about how through all the stages of life, for better or worse, good intentions or not, anyone who has ever tried to fight technology is always lost. Farmers, or the horse and buggy to the car, or the transition of radio to television, or how about Netflix and Amazon, right? I mean, So when this new platform like Clubhouse that comes out, someone that I'm friends with stepped to me and said, "Hey, would you like an invite for Clubhouse?" I'm like, "I'm married. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." No, they're like, "It's great." They start explaining it to me. I'm like, okay. So I got on trying to figure it out. And I love it. I'm not an addict like some of my friends, you know who you are out there, but I definitely see the value in it. We've run some rooms regarding mental wellness. I do my podcast, the Get Up podcast, which I believe, I can't put the copyright on this, but I do believe that I'm the first person to simultaneously do the live podcast in a Clubhouse room in front of a virtual live audience. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
What a great experience. What a way to connect with people. My wife and I have been starting this morning thing. We call it Coffee with Christina and Macchiatos with Marc. Hey.
Yeah. Which I got in. Yeah. I got in today earlier before this,
which you got into. Yeah. And it starts with, we talk morning routines, and then it goes to people just weighing in with different things they do and don't do. I mean, the conversations, as you know, has been all over the place, from meditation to affirmations to waking up late to waking up early to, do you have pants on while you're Zooming to take a shower, like all kinds of stuff. And organic twists, turns, fun and interesting because people are weighing in and connecting from all over the place. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, let's
love
back up a step though. And for anybody listening who has not been exposed to Clubhouse yet, 4 of you out there, maybe, Mark, break down for those listeners, what is Clubhouse, sort of first of all, what it is, how it kind of works, and then talk about some of those key concepts that you started to get into, such as rooms versus clubs and moderators and things that people need to know about Clubhouse.
Yeah, sure. And again, not the expert myself yet. I'm not claiming to be, but from my experience, what I first start out was you get to create your own bio, which is great for people, and it allows you to, because it's your voice, and that's the first thing. So when you go to Marc Hayford, boom, who is this guy? You look and you get to see, oh, he's this is what he wants me to know about him, because you create your own bio. And if you drop down, then that's how you can connect off of Clubhouse, whether it's Instagram or it's Twitter. Because once you're off Clubhouse, it's kind of like the Snapchat for grownups, right? It's done. It goes away. There's no recordings of rooms. There's no way to DM or message somebody or email them through it. When you're on Clubhouse, you're on Clubhouse. When you're off, and it's all audible. So unlike this, where some people may be listening to the podcast through an audio, you also have your YouTube where people can, just take a look and see what we look like and see that I, more so than you, have a face for radio and Clubhouse. Right?
I don't know, but I'm with you there, man. Face for radio for sure.
There you go. So, what it enables you, what it allows you to do is connect with people. And what it enables is connecting of people that you may never have connected with in any other circumstance of life. I've talked to people from different countries, different time zones that do all different things. Like, what other room can you be in where somebody who is the manager of the, the Quick Check or the oil lube place is now talking to the VP CEO, best-selling author on blockchain, but they're connected because they have a common interest in fishing and they're in the fishing room. I don't know. It's different rooms which create conversations, thought-provoking ideas, mindlessness, networking, whatever it is that you're into, you'll find it out there. And when you go in, you get connected with like-minded people, you make these connections. And as far as the rooms itself, you log into Clubhouse and you see all the names and titles. Well, that's your hallway. Well, once you pick a room, you're out of the hallway, you're in the room. So let's say we're in the podcasting room. So now anyone that's interested in podcasting, starting one, doing one, they have one, they want to promote it, they want to connect with other podcasters, they want to find guests, whatever, bam, you're in the podcasting room. As you're in that room, there's people on the quote unquote stage. And on that stage, there could be 14 moderators that are running the conversation, keeping it moving along, almost like a Ryan Seacrest, if you will, of that room. And they're just keeping it rolling and moving. And a good moderator is going to do that. People can be pulled up to the stage by raising their hand. When you get pulled up to the stage, you want to put yourself on mute. So if you're coughing or the baby's crying or you flush the toilet, we don't know. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So there's that. But it's great. It's great. And it can definitely, I ran this one room for mental wellness and I really didn't know what to expect. And what I realized was it's such a important topic, especially right now in the 15th month of 2020, right? As we're in March of 2021 as we're doing this. And the room went on 3.5 hours. People just coming and going and sharing. And it was a total safe zone. People that were moderating were people that have been interviewed by CNN regarding Markle, excuse me, that whole thing on with, Prince Harry and they were, doctors are on there and then just people that want to share, people that need help, and it was amazing. And that's when I realized the real power of it, not just making friends, which by the way, I have made so many great friends, good people, you know who your people are and you can connect with them off, so what a better way in today's day and age to connect. There's no filters. There's no, it's audible. You're talking and everybody has a voice if they choose to out there. So it's cool.
Yeah. You've done a great job, Mark, in explaining it. And to me, it's kind of like if you had a, radio dial in your pocket, but instead of just being able to dial into literally thousands of shows going on, like you said, you get into a show and you're kind of in the room with the DJs, which are the moderators, and you can raise your hand, click a little icon, and join the conversation if you like to. And in some cases, like when I joined you guys for macchiato and coffee or whatever this morning, I think your wife, she asked me to come on stage. So I got a little alert on my phone, like, oh, I'm like, whoops, I've got to put down the oatmeal and, start getting serious about saying something intelligent. So I think that people can probably be a little bit intimidated by that at first, the concept of, oh my gosh, I'm going to say something that other people are going to hear. I would say get over that fear because like you said earlier, they're not recorded. Now, I guess some people technically you can record those conversations if you have the right equipment. Have you actually done that or tried that at all?
No, I mean, I hear myself talk all the time, man. I run a podcast, I'm in the rooms. I'm a former radio host. So I don't have any interest as far as that, but I'm sure you could. And to just piggyback off of what we're talking about here, there's some people that are going to hear this and like a lot of busy people, a lot of people that have a lot of value and quality and they're hustling and grinding in life. And they're thinking, I don't have time to play around on Clubhouse. Or I don't have time for one more thing, or I don't want to do nonsense. Wrong. Because
Yeah.
I'll just say that is wrong. That's not what it is. Like, yes, like anything else, it could be mindless and useless and whatever. But let me paint this picture. And I'm a speaker. I speak to schools, sports teams, businesses. I keynote. I do whatever. Here's the thing. That's not happening. That whole book tour, when I was kicking off in the Barnes and Noble, the main one, the big one, the day before Easter in 2020, that got canceled. The entire book tour up and down the East Coast, that got canceled. All those schools I'm going to speak at, that got canceled. So here in this virtual world, in this audio world, this is the new stage. This is the new platform. And this is the new way to connect with people. If you're a lonely person, if you're a single person, if you're a person with a brand, if you're a person that's looking to network and grow, your network's your net worth, right? So it's really true to try to grow that and with like-minded people. And again, I can't emphasize enough some of the connections I've made out here on a personal level, on a professional level. It's freaking dope, man. Like it is just blown the doors off what I perceive this to be. And it's exclusive because, right, you can't get in without an invite at this stage.
Right. So, by the way, I'm sure between me and you and other people, anybody that's listening to this, you can hit me up and if I don't have any invites left, I'll ask Chris, but we'll be able to, or excuse me, Mark, we'll get that going for you guys. But you're hitting on some things I'd like to touch on a little bit more as we go through the conversation. One is that concept of time. I'm kind of falling in that camp too. Like, man, this could be a huge time suck. But give us some advice from your perspective, Mark, as far as how much time you're spending on it. And are you like being intentional about when you get on Clubhouse and when you're kind of working and hustling, you're not on it?
I only have 24 hours a day. And I'm not trying to be cute with that. My days go so fast anymore because when you're on purpose, that's what happens. The time flies when you're having fun. I'm having a freaking ball, man. And there's so much that's going on a personal level, professional level. So for me, it's about shooting my shot. It's about picking my spots. So if I'm going to get on, and here's the thing, the more connections you make, the more friends you make, the more things you're getting involved in, the more people are going to want you to come to their rooms, their conversations, speak with them, moderate with them, co-mod. You definitely have to be careful with it because if not, it can, like anything else, get out of control. Right. Mm-hmm. So saying that, I definitely am particular with where I'm going to be spending the time, what nights or days or timeframes I'm going to be doing it. My podcast is once a week. Typically I'm shooting for Wednesdays. The mental wellness thing follows that. The morning time networking we're doing, it's every morning, but it's at a specific time carved in intentionally into the criteria of our day. And we kind of go with that. So, I'm not on there all day long. I do have updates and I will see people who legit are on there all day long. And, and it shows because it's like anything else, like they're putting in the work and they have a mad following because they have more connection.
So I mean, it's a land grab at this point too. I really kind of equate the biggest thing for me, I can equate it to in my experience was when I got on Twitter, like in 2008, man. And it was the same exciting feeling like, wow, I can text people all over the place at the drop of a hat, man. And I started having conversations and meeting people in, everywhere from Boston to Bangalore, whatever, right? Everywhere. And it's the same kind of excitement. I think that is one thing that has really helped Clubhouse. First of all, I think the pandemic, ironically, they couldn't have hit that app at a better time, right? Because as you said, so many of us are stuck at home. We're not doing the daily commute as much and all this. And so it felt like a different experience as well. Can you talk about that? What do you think's been behind their meteoric growth and adoption?
Yeah, the joke is that Clubhouse is the pandemic baby, right? Because who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows, man? Who knows what would have happened if this thing happened in 2018? Because I remember, look, I had a MySpace page in 2006, and then Facebook came along. It was like, oh, one thing I loved a lot and really enjoyed was Periscope. If you guys go back to
yeah. And Twitter bought it and now is killing it off this year. Thanks, Twitter.
Really, I didn't know that. Well,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Fun fact: Facebook owns Instagram, and now in Clubhouse. So you guys know they're listening. Like there's celebrities on it. I've been in rooms with MC Hammer, Mark Zuckerberg.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. And you don't typically get on stage with a lot of them, right? But you're in that room with them, right? It's like when you go to a concert and you're like, wow, Paul McCartney's really right there, 50 yards away on that stage. I'm in the same room with Paul McCartney. It's kind of like that. Not same. Man. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a neat thing. I think because it's been this exclusive invite only kind of thing, it felt like the velvet rope, right? And it's much more open now. But let's also get back to this whole idea of adoption, because I'm going to admit I was a little bit slow to adopt Clubhouse, kind of still am, just dipping my toe in a little bit, maybe for the last couple months. What about you? You've been on it for what, a couple months yourself?
I don't know exactly. End of January, maybe ish.
Okay.
First I understand it and I'm like, oof, one more thing to make time for. That was my initial reaction. But then I'm like, nah, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to embrace it. Once I saw what it was, I was like, oh, okay. This is the next big thing. It's worth putting the time in. And that's
the other thing. Yeah. And the thing I find is you can just let it run in the background if you're working. Now, I personally, when I'm working, writing and doing things like that, I need to focus. I can't be distracted. So I'm like you a little bit, Mark, where I'm more intentional, maybe at lunchtime, mornings, evenings. When I have time, I'll sit there and devote that, because you really want to be engaged in those conversations. It's not cool to sit there and try to watch TV, check your emails and do 4 things while you're listening to Clubhouse. Yeah. I find it's better. And if you're going to work it, so I call people the difference between lurkers and workers. I don't care if it's Twitter, Instagram, whatever. If you just mindlessly scrolling through your feed and you're never engaging with anybody, you're a lurker, man. But if you want to get anywhere, you need to start working it. If you're on Instagram, you got to post, you got to like and comment on stuff. If you're on Clubhouse, you got to raise your hand and you got to speak up and you got to talk. And I don't know about you, but some people think, oh man, I'm shy or whatever. I don't have anything to say. Bullshit. You can just get it out there, get over your fears, man. Clubhouse is a great way to do it. What do you have to say about that? Because no one sees you. First of all, it's all audio. So you can be in your underwear if you want to.
I mean, the mental wellness room's total proof of what you just said. There's so many people who came on that this is my first time speaking in Clubhouse, or I would never do this in person, or, hey, I just, thank you everybody for just kind of giving me a few minutes and paying some attention to me, to the person that's look at me, cause that's, I've seen that too. And it's all types, man. It's just people. It's just a new way of connecting and no judgment. You and I sound like we're on the same page as far as when we're being intentional of putting our time there and our energy there, not just to show up, which I try to do that in all aspects of life. But there's, like I said, there are people that are on there all day, and I'm not hating them either, because their numbers compared to mine, as far as quote unquote followers and clubs and things, are trounce mine, because they're putting in the work, right? And what's interesting to me is every social media has a different flavor, right? Like before the pandemic, my wife and I would take our kids, and as a family, we'd go to a different NFL stadium and we'd watch a team, buy the attire, the whole thing. Chicago's got a different flavor than Miami, which has a different flavor than New York for the Giants, which is way different than Houston, which is totally different than San Francisco, and it's like that's how this is. And, when you're talking about just a TikTok versus a LinkedIn, versus an Instagram. Like you could go and there was somebody on, sorry, getting them all because there's so many. There's like 10 different come on, right? And you go and you look at like I don't know, you look at a Clubhouse and somebody could have 25.7K followers and you click their Instagram and they have like 1,000, which isn't small, but it's like, okay, like they chose to go hard into Clubhouse and they'll be active on these other ones. So I don't fault anyone for any way they want to rock any of these medias. You know, it's all preference and who cares what other people think, right? Run your race, man. Do your thing.
Yeah. But I do find, and you probably find it more so than me, but that when you're in Clubhouse, because you can't physically text other people and get distracted. Like even in Zoom, you know, you can have these side chats going with people or whatever, but you only can listen or talk or both. But the only other thing you can do is check out people's bios. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's what you start doing. You go, oh, who's this Mark guy? And you click, and then you could read your bio and go, oh, this guy seems cool. I'll follow him on Instagram or I'll follow him on Twitter. And so I've seen my, follower counts go up, not huge, but at least a little bit. And it's kind of reciprocal, man. If you talk to enough people, I think like you and I did, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm starting to see when notifications pop up, oh, Marc Hayford. Oh, I remember that guy. I'll see what he's in. You know what I mean? So that's cool too.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. The bio is important because look, we're all selling something, whether we know it or admit it, right? In life, period. And you're selling yourself with your bio, and your bio is important. I've talked to another moderator who became a friend who told me, he said, look, you wind up going out there and he goes, I run this room so-and-so with 5 or 6 mods. We're all on the same page. You do not get pulled up to speak. And this is like a networking one. So you're there for that. You want to be pulled up. You want to give hey, I'm Marc Hayford. I do this. I'm here, blah, blah, blah. Well, he said, if you don't have a good bio, not a good bio, if it's like a 1-word bio, we're not pulling you up. If you don't have a legitimate picture, we're not pulling you up. And if you don't have an Instagram or your Twitter, that link, because you can link either of those at the bottom, says we're not pulling you up. We're just not, because then you're not serious and you're not with. So that's the other thing that's going out there. There's people out there intentionally looking to A players want to be with A players, right? That's talked about in the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. He says that's his rule number 1. A players want to be with A players. So if you're out there just kind of doing it, that's cool if that's all you're in there for. But if you want to advance in it, then you got to pay attention to your game a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you mentioned you got a room or several rooms. Have you started what, I guess, isn't it called a club, like a more permanent room? Have you started one of those?
Yeah, just recently. It's interesting because apparently you had to like apply and you're on a list. And I think as they're coming out of their beta stage, because Clubhouse is only a year old. So we're all in the graduating class of Clubhouse. It's kind of like the new that comes to the school. Well, you're still graduating class of 2021, right? So we're in the beta stage, if you will, of Clubhouse. And now you can own a club. I believe you can only own one. So I did start one, and it's the name after my brand, my books, my podcast. So it's the Get Up Club. And the intent of that, the description is, every Wednesday is what we shoot for, 7 p.m. It's going to be the live podcast, and it's me doing a 20-minute mindset, attitude, positivity, boom, but a moderator's there. I'm not looking at the phone. I'm on this mic. The mic goes on, the gloves come off, dude, and I'm just raw 100 miles an hour. Just that freaking fire goes. I'm not taking questions, talking. I'm doing my thing. The moderator's doing whatever's going on here, but everyone's listening. It's almost like if you were to go see Ellen and you're in the audience, you're watching the live show. Right. So that's what we're doing, but we're doing it in an audio sense. And then when the podcast is done, 20 minutes in, boom, bam, headset comes off, moderator unmutes whoever they want to come up. And now it's a discussion about what the topic was, whether it's a subconscious mind or it's about winning or it's about time management or whatever the topic is of that day. And that's what my club is. And you can spawn other things out of your club. People can join your club and they'll get notifications. Ooh, Brandon's starting his club today, so I got to jump in here and check it out, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool. Yeah, like-minded people.
Right. So I guess the benefits of that, starting a club, would be it's permanent, number 1. And so number 2, that means over time you can see follower count hopefully going up, right? More and more people joining your club. and it's more of a regular thing. So it kind of gets implanted in people's head, like you have with yours, like, man, every week this guy's coming on, as opposed to the rooms, which are kind of pop-ups. You got to start a room every single time. They're not recurring. Well,
Well,
cool, man. Listen,
the
that's
room.
a lot good stuff on Clubhouse. I do want to switch gears for a few minutes and chat about your background, because we mentioned you were in the Air Force. And at one point you were a professional wrestling referee. Did you wrestle, or how did you get into that?
Oh man, how much time you got?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, give
Well,
us
I
the
grew up,
give us the quick version.
yeah, grew up watching as a kid with my dad, the Andre the Giant, Bob Backlund, Jimmy Superfly Snuka days, right before Hulkamania, and then grew up. I got too cartoony. I got into sports and girls in high school and stuff, and then years later, kind of reconnected again. And I'm a DJ of 20 plus years, and about 15 years ago, a wrestling school popped up in my neck of the woods. And I called the school to see if they needed anyone to play music for the wrestlers to come out. And they said,
Okay.
yeah, why don't you come down, brother? I'm like, wow, maybe that was Hulk Hogan. I don't know. So I go down, and it turns out they didn't. They had a little music thing. What they needed were referees. And I'm like, I'm driving a minivan. I got 3 kids and male pattern baldness. Like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, so they trained me, and I started doing shows and around the Pennsylvania, New Jersey circuit, and it's like the movie The Wrestler. You're in the VFW, you're in the bingo hall, you're in the, fighting through the crowd, taking the hot dog from the lady and smush it in someone's face. And I'm counting to 10 to disqualify people. And it was all that.
That's fun. I bet you got a lot of stories out of that period of time.
Well, what wound up happening was about 6 months in, how sometimes you get that inner voice, that voice that just kind of, a lot of times we suppress that voice because it's not realistic. And, it's like, and we put on the back burner. Well, the little voice said that I should try out for the WWE. So what I did was picked up the phone and I called the WWE and said, you guys looking for talent? And they said, as a matter of fact, we are. And I said, oh, what do I got to do? And they said, well, you send us a videotape and we'll take a look and we'll get back to you. This is the mid 2000s.
All right.
In the meantime, I'm a referee. Like, what do you want me to send you a tape of me almost counting to 3, So, but I had some footage, sent it in, and you won't believe what happened. Nothing, not a damn thing. There's cobwebs on my phone. Nobody called. So I kept calling. It was kind of like a we'll call you type thing. Well, at the time, before they do what they do now, where they have it kind of manufactures itself out of Florida, they were having tryouts in Houston, Texas. If you go back to the beginning of this, you listen, you hear I'm from Pennsylvania. So I didn't have an invite, but I did have my former roommate from Korea, from the Air Force, who's living in Houston, Texas. And I called him and said, hey, man, can I crash on your couch for one night? Because I'm going to try out for the WWE. He's like, you're freaking crazy. Come on down. And I remember right before I left, I didn't tell anybody, but I was training for months and I was focusing on it. And that was my goal. That's all I did for, I knew that was going to happen. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I knew I wasn't invited. I knew, I didn't know how that was going to work, but I felt it and I knew I had to go. And the funny part was the people that I did let in my inner circle, everybody had a reason why I shouldn't go and why it wouldn't work. One of them was a friend that I went to college with for about like 15 minutes. Was a former WWE talent. And he told me, I sent him a tape. I said, what do you think? He's like, it sucks. I go, really? It sucks? He says, it sucks. He goes, you're too big, like muscular for the refs, or, you're too slow, or you're going too fast. And the other one, oh, you look like a wrestler, or, just everybody had a reason why that it wouldn't work. And I remember the night before I flew out, my wife came to me and said, listen, I could support you in anything you do. She's like, but we're building a business. We literally have babies and you want to run across the country and play wrestling. And I think it ended, I don't want to say it was an argument, but I'll say it was a definitely heated debate. And I think she said something like, idiot. So I sat on the couch and flew out, drove there but my buddy drew me there once I flew in Houston. And I remember going up to the warehouse and I looked and I thought to myself, all I saw were giants. I come up to navels and belt buckles, right? And I thought, wow. I feel like I'm going to vomit. Like, what am I doing here? But I'm like, all right. And I just walked in and somehow got through the front doors, which is a whole nother story in itself. Got in the ring for tryouts. And it was seriously, dude, it was like 100 degrees in this freaking warehouse. And they had 3 rings going and a couple hundred people. And I remember they said, we need a referee in this, and they didn't finish a sentence, and I'm in the ring. Because when you have your opportunity, you have to take your opportunity. Can't wait for permission. You can't ask please. You got to, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, as long as you're not hurting other people, you got to take your shot. Took my shot. I was in the ring. And this is how wrestling really typically goes, and the cat's out of the bag. So I'm not like, it's good guy, bad guy, referee. Good guy's going to win by doing this in about this much time. Let's have the match. Well, that's not, this was good guy, bad guy. You guys figure it out. Okay. So there's an unpredictability aspect to the whole thing. I did the first match, the second match, third match. One of the refs looked at me and goes, hey man, anytime you want to take a break, we'll get you in there. Break? I didn't come there for a break. Like, you're gonna have to scrape me out of this ring. You're gonna have to beat me, which ain't gonna happen. 4 matches, 5 matches, covered in sweat. My buddy comes over, gives me a water while the new guys are getting in the ring. He goes, hey, he goes, keep doing what you're doing. And I said, why? He goes, because them guys with suits over there, they're looking at their clip pad and they're going, hey, who's that kid, the ref in the ring? And they can't find it because you ain't supposed to be here. Like, back in the corner. Did the 5th match, 6th match, 7th match. During the 7th match, 2 300-pound guys, one goes to pin the other. I slide down to do the 3 count and completely, utterly, disgustingly dislocate my left shoulder.
Oh.
My elbow is pointing to the ceiling.
Oh.
I'm in more pain than I have the inventory of adjectives to describe to you right now. Fear, everything. Where am I going to go? Who's fixing me? Did I just completely destroy my arm? What, but no one noticed, because the 2 300-pound guys were beating the crap out of each other and literally choking each other in the corner. And in that moment, I really just took a second and thought, no, I didn't come this far to come this far. Like, I didn't, it doesn't end here. Like, this isn't going to be a cool story I tell my grandkids. Like, grab the arm and yank. And, the Mel Gibson Lethal Weapon popped it back. Wow. That sucks bad. And the 300-pound guy body slammed the other 300-pound guy. And Brandon, it was the fastest 3 count you ever saw. 1, 2, 3. And he was like, hey, no, I'm like, you out of the ring next. Right? And here we go. 9th match, 10th match. They pulled me out of the ring. And one of the guys in suits said to me, he said, what's your story? And I said, I flew in from Philadelphia. And he says, when do you leave? I said, I leave tomorrow. And he looked at me and said, if you change your flight plans, I'll change your life. And I went, okay. And that was it. And in that moment, I walked out. I took my flip phone, called my wife, made her get off MySpace. And I said, the idiot did it. She said, what? And I said, I did it. And 4 hours later, I was in front of 20,000 people in a WWE ring. And it was the most unbelievable experience of my life. And I did the circuit with those guys and traveled and everything. Never did a major pay-per-view, wasn't contracted. It was kind of like as show got paid type deal. And I was there, but I had kids, like my wife did say. So I made it, but I had kids and there's a lot of travel and it's an aggressive schedule. So I have all the respect in the world for the men and women that are doing that. But I did it for a handful of months and then I was done. And
wow.
You know what? The rest of my life, I was a WWE referee. And right over there, I got a picture of me in the ring in front of like 20,000 people. So, and what's cool to me about that picture, which you can't see, is it's all the way over there. So there's 3 people in the ring. 2 of them are down. They're the wrestlers and I'm standing. So when I see that picture, I see myself as the last man standing. And I think that's a mentality a lot of people could really benefit from.
Man, what a story. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. I had no idea where that was going.
Thanks for asking.
The biggest wrestler I grew up with around here in the Charlotte area is Ric Flair, man. So I got to give you the woo!
I got a great Ric Flair story.
Oh, dude, I bet you do.
I worked with all of them.
Face down in a bathroom somewhere?
No, just the opposite. When we were in prison, no, I was actually, I think it was in Detroit or something. And before the shows, it's not like the guys show up eating a pretzel and then, they open the doors. Like, you're there late morning, lunchtime, catering, going over. Shows are changing the whole time. And, it was like I was going to bed in Kansas and waking up in Oz, right? Like, you see these guys on TV and now you're literally in the locker room having conversations with John Cena or The Undertaker or The Rock or, crazy. Crazy. It's just so crazy. And it was an early afternoon some day for a TV taping. And I remember I was walking from the backstage out to the arena and it's a covered area, so it's kind of, you walk from the light, you're in the dark, and you're walking out to the arena where it's light, and these people are coming towards me. I can see it's a guy, and he has this harem of women. Don't ask me who they were. I don't know, but it was like 8 people and one guy. And as I'm walking, I get closer. I'm looking face to face at the nature boy, Ric Flair. I'm looking right at him, and I extend my hand, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Flair, my name's Mark. I'm here for referee." And he walks right by me and keeps going.
Oh,
and I was like, "You got to be kidding." And then he stops and goes, "Oh, hey, what's up?" I don't know if he heard me or if he was in his own world. He came back. He came over. Ric Flair shook my hand and goes, "Hey, congratulations, best of luck. I'm Rick," and blah blah blah. And I was like, "I know, thanks." And, so nice guy, man, nice guy. You hear the
That's
stories,
cool.
partier. Yeah, they do a great piece on him on ESPN. What is it, 360 or something? Talks about his life and his love for the business and everything. So yeah, that whole experience is something I'll always treasure. Again, when you make an achievement like that, it's something that can never be taken away from you. And that started the platforms and how I got to have the stage to speak for schools and for teams and for businesses.
Man,
and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish we could spend more time. Maybe we need to do another one of these, but give us a quick rundown of where we can learn more about you, and especially the books I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Well, I have 3 books. Get Up, Encouraging You to Attack Life, which hit #1 in 4 hours from its release on Amazon in the self-help category, which is crazy because I never had a formal writing course or a blog or any of that stuff. I think it's just about, I believe in the message, and I promoted it heavily. And when it dropped, the humbling part is how so many people told me what it did for them as far as changing their lives. And so Get Up, the red one, that's out there. 365 Days of Encouraging You to Attack Life also hit #1 in Amazon self-help. That one's more of a thought of the day type book. So Get Up is on Audible. 365 is not. And Light Up the Darkness was the book that I was inspired to write in the summer of 2020. A lot of the events of this pandemic and the global chokehold it put. And, years of having my podcast and a radio show and all this other stuff, I got to the mentors that the books I've read and studied, and the YouTube, how you can, use it for beneficial aspects and just really get to know people and have mentors, living and dead, and learn these lessons from them. So I found that there were 9 key elements that all successful people have. And I call each of those a key. And I broke each chapter or key. There's 9 of them in my book, Light Up the Darkness. And that one charted in self-help. That one charted, top 10 in self-help on Amazon, which blows my mind because that's the biggest retailer in the galaxy. It went top 10 in NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, which is just a real fancy way of how we think and how our brain works and how we talk to ourselves. And it hit #1 in sports psychology, which is crazy because, Brandon, it's not a sports book, but I am a head football coach. I was in pro wrestling. I played sports growing up. So I use a lot of those analogies, a lot of pop culture, a lot of what's relevant right now as examples and stories in that book. So that's that. So if you guys want to pick that up, you can go to Amazon, or you can go to marchayford.com. It's Mark with a C, because we want to confuse the people at Starbucks, right?
Yeah, right.
And got the Get Up podcast. It's on all the podcasting platforms. And, marchayford.com is kind of like the hub for all of that. And I do speaking for virtual events, and obviously prior to 2021 live events, right? And it's all mindset, attitude, positivity. Eat that for breakfast. Got to spread more of that. And we need more of it. 2021, man. So marchayford.com, amazon.com. I love it. And all
positivity,
your
man.
Network,
all
your
positivity for breakfast. If you want more positivity for breakfast, definitely go on Clubhouse, get an invite, and look for Marc Hayford and his wife, Christina, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And man, you can share virtual coffees and macchiatos with them just about every day. Very cool. Well, thanks, Mark. This has been fun, man. Bringing it off of Clubhouse onto video and podcast world. It's all good. It's all intertwined. So like you said, these platforms are positive if you use them, and you can meet cool people.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Sorry. And you know what's happening right now as we're speaking? We're trying to get off my phone. I'm getting updates on Instagram through my direct messages from people that I met on Clubhouse. New friends.
You go. So it works.
Put a bow on it. Let's land the plane.
Well, man, thanks so much. This has been great information, and hope everybody gets a lot out of Clubhouse and stays positive as we come out of this pandemic.
Thank you, man. It's great spending time with you. Appreciate it.